Do you have continuity or association plan for your business?
Has anyone shared the concept of sustainability with you?
What about the need to protect the rights of minority shareholders?
What are those ingredients germane to having effective meetings?
For these and many more, tune into Corporate Governance Platform every Thursday on MITV, your darling station, on DSTV 255 and UHF 43 at 4:30 p.m.
Corporate Governance Platform is your best medium for informative and educative strategies for the practice of the corporate governance profession.
Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN, the hub of governance professionals.
Many thanks for joining us on Corporate Governance Platform, proudly brought to you by ICSAN, the hub of governance professionals. And coming to you live from MITV in Lagos, I am Tunde Odeyemi. Today, in the next 30 minutes, we are going to be looking at the relevance of corporate governance in both the public and the private sectors of the economy. And I have with me here in the studio a distinguished fellow of the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria. He's going to be leading the conversation on the relevance of corporate governance in public and private sectors. My guest is Sir CHUMA OSUEBI. Sir CHUMA OSUEBI is a lawyer with over 2 decades of diverse experience in commercial litigation, project and real estate financing, corporate governance and secretarial services, secured credit transactions, infrastructure and construction law practices. He is an ardent and certified mediator, and he has successfully led multi-million commercial litigations and advised on complex real estate and infrastructure financing transactions. Sir CHUMA OSUEBI is a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN, fellow Institute of Management Consultants, fellow Institute of Professional Managers and Administrators of Nigeria, and a long-standing company secretary of an upscale design and development firm with a profile of luxury, residential, and commercial development across Lagos, Nigeria. He has acted for both investor and investee companies in diverse projects and brings his wealth of experience to diverse companies bearing their objectives of the firm. Sir CHUMA OSUEBI is a respected knight of the Order of St. John International, KSJ. I love the tone of that KSJ. Sir CHUMA, you are warmly welcome to Corporate Governance Platform.
Thank you for having me, and good evening, viewers.
Okay, well, we are going to be discussing the practice, let me put it that way, the practice of corporate governance in both the public and the private sectors. And I'd like to start this conversation by asking you, what does corporate governance connote?
Well, for corporate governance is to trigger corporate accountability and prosperity, okay, in businesses, right? You know, it's based on challenges that companies and even the public sector faced. You know, that the code was enacted, that some sectors now are now enacting their own codes. We have NCC code, we have CBN code, we have this pension code, and all of it. It's just institutionalized corporate governance. You understand? And to ensure business profitability, okay, you know, and shareholder confidence in the way these companies are run. That is in a nutshell, that is what corporate governance seeks to achieve.
Okay, I'd like to, at this point, invite the viewers to also participate in this conversation by sending a text message to 080-2323-1287. I take the number again, 080-2323-1287. You can be part of the studio live participation in this particular program by sending text message. Please, no call, only text message to the number I have called and to the number you're likely going to have on the screen of your television set. Okay, you have told us what corporate governance is. Is there any difference between corporate governance and corporate management?
Well, there's no real difference between both.
Okay.
They are interrelated. Now, corporate governance, translates to proper management.
Okay.
You understand?
Corporate governance translates to proper management. Okay.
Corporate governance is a guide to management. You cannot separate or divorce both. One follows the other. You understand? So that if you have set up corporate governance or have institutionalized corporate governance, management follows.
Okay.
They work with it.
Okay.
So now the management cannot be working against corporate governance principles. So corporate governance is a guide that management to follow to achieve profitability. Because when it's not a business, it's not to the name, it is the benefits that you're going to derive from the business.
Okay.
So the people who have invested money also want to know and see that the business is prospering and they're getting dividends. That is what corporate governance seeks to achieve.
Okay, from what I can take from what you have said is that corporate management actually needs corporate governance for it to be successful.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Because if you have set up those goals or principles in corporate governance, management will follow. So now they are the same. Management is also expected to key into corporate governance principles of the company or a sector.
Okay, that is for business. Now the question now is, how will you define good governance in the context of public administration?
Wow. You're talking about corporate governance, not administration.
Okay.
What's the difference?
And good governance.
Good
governance. Okay.
What's the difference? So now, if I told you earlier that because of challenges, some sectors, particularly in public sectors, we are facing, they now started to, enact their own codes of corporate governance, NCC, CBN, and all that. Those are called public companies. But they now realize the need to set up those things to guide their operations and how those are managed. And I think we're even seeing results.
Okay, that is going to lead me to another relevant question to this. What's the link then between corporate governance and public governance?
Well, you see, one follows the other.
Okay.
So when you talk about public, we are talking about the government, right?
Yes.
If government is not properly governed, it will affect the private sector.
Okay.
So now, if we have, or if there is, a well-organized and managed public sector, the private sector will strive.
Okay.
You understand? So everything is about management.
Okay.
Just like we read the Bible or the Quran, they guide you.
Okay.
You understand? They are there. You may decide to go, but this is what the Word of God says.
Okay, let me help by asking this question because I want you to put this in perspective. There is this statement that says corporate governance is much like public governance. It's a popular statement. Now, how true or how false is this statement?
It's true. It is the same corporate, public, the same thing. Because when you talk about corporate governance, it trickles down to private companies and public companies and even corporations.
Okay.
So we cannot, you cannot even draw a line. Because the code is just like, how will I explain it? It's just a guide. The private sector keys into it, the public sector keys into it.
Okay, in your opening statement, you made mention that there are different sectors of the economy.
Yeah.
You mentioned the banks, the pension, I don't know whether you communication, insurance,
yeah.
okay. That they have different codes
Yeah.
that also guide them. Now, does public institutions, do they also have codes, good governance or corporate governance codes that also guide them?
Yes, I mentioned the ones that are prominent now.
Okay.
Other ones are at the stages of, enacting their own codes.
Okay.
So these ones were at the forefront. You understand? At the forefront. So when you hear CBN say this, say that, it is based on what they. So that the codes for these few sectors I mentioned is peculiar to them.
Okay.
CBN code cannot be the same with LCC code, but they do different things.
Okay.
But the basic thing is proper management. That is what the central is, in proper management.
Okay. Is there any implication if a company is reputed for adhering to the principles of corporate governance?
They have enormous benefits.
Okay. Can we share some with us?
Just like if they're public companies, if they want to sell shares, people are likely to buy more because the company is properly managed. That is what corporate governance is all about. So now there are companies that we mentioned, people will be skeptical, to invest in those companies. The companies you mentioned now, just I don't want to mention the company, the one or the banks, they opened up sale of their shares.
Okay.
But there's struggle now. Who is going to pay more? That is what that company I'm talking about has existed over 100 years, and it's still, accounting. So a company that is reputed to have good corporate management is likely to be a pride of investors. The
Pride of investors.
Pride of investors, because they are sure their investments will not go wrong.
Okay, what benefits do you think is accruable to a nation that is also reputed to adhering to the principles of good corporate governance? Yes, we have done the private sector. So what benefits do we have?
Just to reverse it.
Okay.
Also, the same thing that is applicable. Now a country that is reputed to adhere to corporate governance principles is likely to have foreign investors come in, that are comfortable to come and invest their money here, sit back wherever they are, and end of whenever they declare dividend, they take their money and all that. So when you have a country that does not adhere to corporate, people are not willing, to invest in that country,
Okay.
for fear of loss of their investment.
Okay, I will still come back to the issue of investment,
All right.
but I have a text message here. This message is from Mike. Mike is saying that if there is good corporate governance in the public sector, why is it that there are a lot of corruption and leakages in public institutions?
Well, Mike, we need to get something right. It hasn't been long that we started this corporate governance principles, incorporated into our this and all that with time. So the problem is not even the code or the problem is us, the individuals, the citizens. You understand? The codes are just like we have laws. Nigeria has the most of laws in the whole world. But what do? We still circumvent the laws. We still find ways to. You understand? So with time, if it cuts across all the sectors, private and public and all that, then we begin to hold people accountable. For now, we're just still coming up.
We're just still coming up.
Corporate governance.
Okay. Is it in the business, in the private sector or the public sector now?
Both. When we were in law school, corporate governance was not taught.
Okay.
Of recent, is now part of law school curriculum.
Okay.
Just to tell you that it's still evolving.
Okay. Okay, initially you talked about investment, and I'd like to ask this question. Is there any link between the entrenchment of corporate governance in a country and the flow of foreign investments? What's the link between entrenchment of good corporate governance in a country and the flow of foreign investments?
Well, I don't want to mention countries, but it's the stark truth. Like I said earlier, if a country is stable and well managed, they don't even need to beg anybody. They will be coming to say, where can we invest money in this country? For instance, if you go to a country like Gambia,
Okay.
the economy is driven by Indians, Lebanese, and Europeans.
Gambia still in West Africa?
Yes.
Okay.
Gambia is just after Senegal.
Okay.
The economy is driven by the Indians, Lebanese, and Europeans.
Heavily foreign invested.
If you go to Gambia, there are 2 million people, the population. We have 1 million foreigners who do business there.
You've taken over the country.
They are taking over the country. They are not afraid of kidnapping. They are not afraid of it doesn't happen there.
Okay.
They work freely. All the restaurants are operated by other Indians or Lebanese. So now, in that same Gambia, it is needless to buy data. There's Wi-Fi everywhere.
In Gambia,
Gambia is a small Gambia here. If you sit in a restaurant, they have Wi-Fi there. You can sit there and make all the calls you want to make. If you move to the next shop, they don't even need to ask them for this, just key. So that will not tell you why, like by this October, according to what I was told, whites will not there because for holidays and all that, because it's getting cold there, and it's warm here. They will all migrate here. Then the economy is thriving. Okay. Do you know that $100 is exchanged for 5,000 Gambia dollars? And that $5,000 you finish in a day. But in Nigeria, $100 is 50,000 plus. That we will take it for 1 week. That to tell you how strong the economy is because of management.
Okay, I want to ask, you said because of management. Is it because of high adherence to the principles of corporate governance? Is it because of that Gambia is like that?
No, see.
Okay.
No, see, this corporate governance we're talking about is driven by human beings.
Okay.
Not spirit.
Sure.
It's just on paper. If we decide to adhere to it, better for us. You understand? So now when you go to some countries, you understand, just like I go to Senegal, go to Dakar, the airports can rank with Heathrow Airport in London. Senegal here. So why won't people want to land in Senegal? Why would you want to even visit Senegal to even know what outside the airport, what the country looks like? By so doing, they are dropping money. The economy is improving. So it's driven. Now, the way you go to like what the country I mentioned earlier, yes, there's traffic everywhere, but everybody's online. Everybody's online.
Okay, it's like you seem to have good experience with the West African coast. You want to come back to Nigeria, and I want you to put this in perspective.
Yeah.
How would you assess the state of adherence to corporate governance in Nigeria? Perhaps you may want to put a percentage to this in your own value judgment.
Like I said earlier, it's still evolving.
Okay.
Because I know, it is not like people say you don't learn how to use the left hand at old age. You understand?
Yeah.
You know, so it's something it's difficult, you know, to break through, you know, so maybe the cartel that have been created over time. You know, so but gradually, you know, we're getting to that point.
Okay.
You know, gradually we're getting to that point. You know, so we'll stop hearing some sad news or nonsense about companies and all that. Everybody's now being careful because of the regulators who have also keyed into the book.
Okay, let me ask
Just
this.
like before, somebody can perpetuate himself in as MD of a bank for as long as he lives. Now, after 10 years, he must leave.
Of course.
That's you know.
That is corporate governance.
That's
Okay.
That's it. You know, so you don't build an empire inside a bank, even if you study it or not. No, after 10 years, give way. Let's on let's try.
Okay, what corporate governance principles would you say is very vital to good public governance?
Well, integrity
Integrity.
is key. It's very key. You understand? You know, then good business conduct and sustainability.
Mm.
You understand? Sustainability is even, you know, I think just I don't know if you have to clarify, but it's sustainability. So you know why? Yeah, now we live in Lagos, right? I don't know how long we've been in Lagos, but I assume you've been in Lagos longer than me. At that time, we were used to where you enter a house, turn on your tap, water will flow from water corporation. Is this happening now?
Everybody has the tap in his house.
That's what I'm saying. So now that public corporation was not sustained because people were interested in what they're taking home and not continuity of that corporation. You know what you say when you retire and go home, you're going to ask your policeman, what do you bring back home? That is what our people are doing. They want to back.
Okay, let me talk about this concept. The concept of succession planning. Is it as important in the public institution as it is important in the private sector?
But it is said. Because no, I don't know how or why people try to differentiate public and private. For instance, FCIS Limited may start like a private company, and tomorrow they migrate to become a public company, which is now generally owned by several people, not a public business anymore. You know, so social planning applies to both private and both public. So now what entails is, okay, this man is retiring in 1 year or 2 years, the MD is retiring a year or two, who takes over? You know, there are indices, competence, you know, integrity, you know, don't you understand? But unfortunately, my brother, that does not happen anymore. Politics has come into it, tribalism has come into it, nepotism. What they would likely do is either to retire the person who is now qualified to be the compulsorily to pave way to their preferred candidate. But ordinarily, social planning is part of private sector and public sector. You know, as this person is leaving, the next person who is coming, you know, will continue from where the other person stopped. That's continuity. That's sustainability. But now, why you bring, that's like what is happening in one of the government agencies now, because of the tussle to the appointed DG or whatever, you know, somebody was given to when it is assumed office, person started victimizing those who were against.
Okay, Sir Chuma, because of our time, we don't have much time.
Yes, sir.
I just want you to answer this question in 30 seconds. It's about the institute. You are a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Secretary and Institute of Nigeria. In what way has the institute been promoting good corporate governance, both in the public and private sector? And what is your final advice to companies out there on corporate governance?
The institute.
Please, you have to answer it in less than 30 seconds.
Have been doing well.
Okay.
Just but it's just like a lonely voice in the wilderness. Don't understand? It's will talk and talk and talk. What can we do? But my advice to companies, both private and to institutionalize corporate governance in their operations.
Thank you very much. Institutionalize corporate governance in their operations, both the private and, of course, the public sector. This is where we wrap it up. I would like to thank you, Sir CHUMA OSUEBI, our distinguished fellow of ICSAN, for coming on the show and for sharing your thoughts. I'd like to thank our viewers for watching. I thank Mike for the text message. We invite you to join us next week, same station, same time. I remain Tunde Odeyemi. Keep spreading the gospel of corporate governance. Bye for now.
Do you have continuity or association plan for your business?
Has anyone shared the concept of sustainability with you?
What about the need to protect the rights of minority shareholders?
What are those ingredients germane to having effective meetings?
For these and many more, tune into Corporate Governance Platform every Thursday on MITV, your darling station, on DSTV 255 and UHF 43 at 4:30 p.m.
Corporate Governance Platform is your best medium for informative and educative strategies for the practice of the corporate governance profession.
Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN, the hub of governance professionals.